So the last thing that we did was we received Kim Robinson's bill. We've already updated it into our journal, our ledger, and we also did our subsidiary ledger. All right, so let's go ahead and see what happened next. We received the furniture. Yes, we did. Okay. All right, so let's look at this piece of information. So here we actually received a bill. Okay. We received our first invoice, so that means we need to make sure that first things first, that we go ahead and check mark it in our purchase orders. All right. So I'm going to go back to my purchase orders list and let's look at our information. We received our counter and our shelves. So there we go. Here we are. We received our second purchase order. So in this case, we do know what the invoice number is. It's number 69. Okay. Now let's go ahead and so we validated and we assured that we got what we ordered. All right, so go back to my general journal. So let's look at this receipt carefully, or this invoice very carefully. So we received it on June 7th, okay? We received our counter and our display shelves, okay? And here they charged us sales tax, okay? And they also did a delivery charge of $100. So because I wrote in the description, right, that this is how I want you to distribute the actual freight charges. Because think about it, a counter is going to weigh a lot heavier than simple display shelves. Okay, so with that assumption, okay, I'm going to distribute it as I say up here. 75% is going to go to the counter, while the remaining 25% is going to go to the actual shelves. Yes. So again, because it's based on weight, what you can do is if you're not given the specifics on how to distribute the freight, you can do other options on how you want to distribute it. As the accountant, I say that you should distribute it as I say here, 75% to the counter, 25% to the shelves. Other ways that you can do it is you can do it by price. Now, of course, that's not a very accurate depiction, right? Because freight isn't based on how much you buy. It's based on the weight of the object. So, but in this case, because I'm telling you what to do, I'm the accountant, I make the rules, I tell you I want it distributed this way. I don't want you to do any other calculations except for the ones that I've given you. Okay? So with that being said, right, we have quite a few things that we need to calculate. We need to distribute the sales tax, and we now need to distribute the amount of freight, the delivery stuff. So here my total bill is now going to be $1,770.30, right? Opposed to when we originally had it quoted for was the $1,543. So because we need to include the tax that they charged us, and we also need to include the delivery things that we did, okay? So what is furniture? What type of asset is furniture?
Fixed.
It is fixed. So that means we need to calculate the total cost to get these assets to the store and ready for service. Okay, but in this case, we already know a counter is pretty straightforward, a shelf, pretty straightforward. So the only thing that we need to include in each item is going to be the sales tax and the delivery charge for each item. So with that being said, since this is a bill, it gives you terms right here. So here the terms is net 15. And of course, the day that we received it and it was shipped out was June 7th. All right. So we are given this piece of information here. All right. So that means, did we pay now or are we going to pay it later?
Later?
We're going to pay it later, 100%, because that's a lot of money. Okay, so with that being said, let's actually calculate on the side, or you could do it in your Excel sheet because you have the capabilities to do that. All right, so my journal, right? I purchased assets. So I'm going to go to my chart of accounts and I'm going to determine, do I have an account for the counter and do I have an account for the shelves? Yes, you do. All right, they should be.
The counter is 13020.
13020, good.
And I wrote it. And the display is 13040.
Okay, good. So I'm going to recognize that I am now on June 7th. Okay. I have the counter, right? Because I increased my assets and it's 1320, right? I've also acquired display shelves. And that was 13040. All right. And then lastly, because I'm choosing to pay it later, it's going to be on an accounts payable. Okay. 20,000. Right. So I know that at the end of the day, I must equal to 1770.30. All right. Now let's go ahead and take down the breakdown for each individual item. So I have here that my counter is going to cost me a total of 1033. How much sales tax is actually going to be distributed to my counter alone? Anybody?
I was calculating it by that particular percentage, 8.25. But the way I understood is that it has to be separated as well, right? For the tax?
For the tax, you can multiply it on an individual basis because it's a percentage.
It's a percentage.
Mm-hmm.
119322.
Okay, hold on, comma. 2, and you said, oh, what did you say?
119322.
119322, and you added the freight with that as well of $75. So
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
plus the $75 freight gives you 19322. Yes. Good. All right. Same thing, you're going to multiply and do that, but because we did solve for one of them, which was the counter, so I can go ahead and make sure that I could go ahead and take 1770.30 and just subtract out the amount that I calculated for my counter to get my remaining amount of 577.08. And if I were to add them up, they should equal to my grand total of 1770.30. Okay. So good. So what we did is we solved for the percentage wise for the tax that's going to be contributed to having the item for the selling price. And then we added, right? My description said that 75% of the freight is going to go to the counter, while 25% is going to go to the to the shelves. In this case, my number for my freight was $100 even, so that was pretty straightforward. $75 goes to my counter, while $25 goes to my shelves. Okay? So that should be my grand total right here, is that I have my counter for 1193.22, while my shelves are 577.08. Okay, and then I'm also going to write a little description here, right? That I received this from the furniture store. Right, my invoice number is 69, and that I have net 15. That means it's going to be due, this bill is going to be due in 15 days. Okay? All right. All right. Tennyson, I think your mic is picking up a lot of things in the background. Okay. So good. So now we're at 1770, which is perfect. We solved for the amount that we are solving for, and now we need to update our ledger. So let's go ahead and update our assets. Okay, so here we have my assets were going to be furniture, right? Because we purchased a counter and we purchased shelves, and that's going to be considered furniture. So here's my counter, right? I made the purchase of a counter. I don't need to place any notes in there because it's straightforward. I acquired a counter. General journal number 2. All right, and I debited for the 1193.22, bringing me a debit balance of 1193.22. Okay. And if I scroll all the way, if I scroll a couple down, I should have my display shelves here. All right. Oh. All right, so here are my display shelves, and my counter is only a page above it. So, oh, I lost it. Okay, so it's not activating it. There you go. So my display shelves is going to be on page 11. Okay. It's going to be on page 11, and the counter is going to be on the previous page, which is page 10. All right. So going back to this, now I'm on my display shelves. So I'm going to go ahead and indicate that it's when I got these on the 7th. Post reference is going to be my general journal number 2. And I'm debiting it for 577.08. Okay, just exactly how I have it in my journal. And there you go, 577.08. Okay, and then lastly, I need to go ahead and also indicate that I have a liability, which is right here for this. And I'm going to write invoice number 69. All right, and that's all I need to do, because I don't need to write what it is because I have an invoice number. I can easily track exactly and find out how much I actually owe for that bill. And in this case, my grand total was the $17.70.30, which if I were to have my formula in there, it automatically updated that I now owe a total of $3,419.79. Okay. Now that I'm done with that, I can now go to my last thing, which is my subsidiary ledger, because I finally received something from the furniture store. So here's furniture store. Again, I'm going to put the date of June 7. All right. Now here is where I could put my notes. In this case, not really much I'm going to do, but I'm going to make sure I have this information in here that I got a counter and I also received shelves. Okay. Invoice number 69. Post reference is general journal number 2. Now this is where I can go ahead and apply the terms. What was my terms? What was my terms given to me? Net 15, so that means I don't get a discount, but that's okay. So my terms was net 15. So what I can do is I can determine when my actual due date for the entire amount is. So when is this amount due? It's due on the 22nd, right? We don't count the day that we received it, we count the day after. So in this case, yes, it's going to be due on the 22nd of June. Okay? We didn't make any prepaid amounts, but however, we do have an invoice amount, which is for the 1770.30. All right. And of course, with the assumption that we did not complete anything else beyond this, we didn't even make a payment. So therefore, the formula that you place in here should reflect that you owe in the accounts payable for the full amount of the $17.70.30. Okay? Good. Now, let's see what has happened. What has happened next? Now that we properly journalized it, we placed it in the ledger, and now we also post it to the subsidiary ledger. So what has happened next?
Purchase of 10 for bistro tables and chairs.
We made another purchase order. Okay. So here, yes, we decided to do another purchase order for 10 bistro tables and with a set of 2 chairs, okay? Per unit price is $605, so because I'm getting 10 of them, that brought me up to $6,056.50, quote. All right, so what do we do with this purchase order?
Nothing.
Nothing. We don't need to record it. However, what should we do instead?
Recording the purchase order, please.
Yes, we need to make sure that everything that we make a purchase order for is that we keep track of it, because for all I know, I can send out this purchase order and I can also never receive it. So here you go, same store, furniture store. I'm getting tables and chairs. Okay, and for the amount of $6055.50. Right? Good. What has happened next?
A down payment was put on Haley Bros for a purchase order.
Okay, what happened to it?
Down payment check written is for the wrong amount.
Okay.
Order.
Okay, so how do we correct this?
The double error thingamajigger.
Okay, there's 2 of them. There's 2 of them.
I'm like, it's in my head. I recall, but it's not me out. Say it, Lynn. Go ahead.
I cannot remember the term on that.
Before I move on to the next portion, I need to know, what are the 2 methods that we use to correct a journal entry?
You were done with the test, right?
Error correction and reverse and re-entry.
There you go. Error cancellation. Good. Which is we're taking the difference between the amounts and placing them into the correct accounts. Or the second option is going to be the reverse and re-entry, where we actually reverse the transaction by zeroing the accounts out and re-entering it in with a second journal entry with the correct amount. So in this case, that's why I didn't display it, but what I want you to do is I want you to do the reverse and re-entry. So with that being said, if I want to do the reverse and re-entry, what do we need to do? We need to reverse the transaction, and then we're going to write it in for the correct amount. Okay? So let's go ahead and do that. All right? So by reversing the transaction, okay, we're going to do what?
Debit the account first.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Credit the account last.
We're gonna debit the checking, right? We're going to cancel this paycheck, okay? So because right here it says that we have to reissue a new check for the correct amount, what is our assumption? What are we gonna do with this check that we've already written?
You have to cancel the check.
We need to cancel the check. So let me go ahead and just enter in my journal here. So checking, right? And then my reverse transaction is going to be the prepaid accounts, right? Now, again, we're going to go into our check register. We're going to find that check for the for the 1140, right? Here it is. I'm going to go ahead and throw it in here that it is going to be voided. Right? Boom. I voided my check. Okay? Now with that doing this, we need to also place in the amount that we actually voided the check for. So I'm gonna go checking was 10,100. account, prepaid accounts, was that 18,700 or 600? I think it was. What is prepaid accounts?
18,600.
18,600, all right? And I'm reversing it for the 11.40 and 22 cents. So 11.40 and 22 cents. And I'm also going to make sure that I indicate here that I'm correcting the entry here to correct Haley Bros entry. On the 6th of June. Now, of course, you don't need to because this right here is you're reversing the transaction. You don't need to be specific saying that you cancel the check because the automatic assumption is when you go to your check register, it shows up that you've voided the check. And on top of that, when we go into our ledger, I'm also going to indicate that I also voided that check too. Okay? So here, I've entered in only the first half. What I want you to do is I want you to update your general ledger right now. Okay? So here is my first entry. So I am going to go to my ledger. All right? So now I'm going to debit my checking account. So go to assets, page number 1. And I'm going to go ahead and write 67, and then I'm going to go ahead and write void check number 1506. Okay.
Lynn, is there any problem with the screen? I can't see properly.
You can't see my screen?
Yeah, just something, it's freeze or something. I
Okay.
don't know how about the others.
I can see it.
It might be because if other people talk, you might have yours on spotlight. So what I need you to do is you're going to go down to the bottom of the screen on the white bar, all the way to the right
Now
side.
it's working.
Okay, now it's working? Okay, so it might be an internet right now. Okay, so here you're gonna void the check for 1506. General journal number 2. And this time I'm debiting the account for the 1140.22, which should bring up back my balance to the amount, right? We already went to the bank and we told them to void the check to stop it from going. So therefore, the money shouldn't have left in the first place. Okay? So there you go. You reverse the check and you made sure that you voided it. So then if Haley Brothers does receive that check, they can't go ahead and deposit it. It's already voided. All right? So now that we have this, I'm going to go ahead and update my prepaid accounts. Which should be on page 15. So deposits, prepaid accounts right here. Okay. And then I'm going to write here. Void check number 1506. All right, and I'm going to write here wrong amount, AMT. Okay. And then general journal number 2. Yep, I'm on. Okay. General Journal 2, and now because I'm crediting my account, so I'm going to credit for the 1140.22, which should bring me back down to what I originally started, which was the 6654.17. Okay, back to my original amount. Okay. And then, of course, you're going to also have to update your subsidiary ledger too because you voided this check. So in this case, I'm going to go up here to my Haley Bros. I'm going to go ahead and dive right into here and write void check. Okay. Now in this case, even if I did do this or not, my balance will not be affected because I don't owe them anything. So in this case, by me just coming in and editing the information saying that I voided the check, that's all I actually really have to do. Okay? That's all I really have to do. Because at the end of the day, it wouldn't matter because I don't owe Haley Brothers anything. Okay, so that's all the piece of information I need to do as far as update this piece of information. I don't need to zero out anything because my check is already voided. So, and on top of that, I don't owe anything. Okay, so that's all I'm going to enter in as far as that. All right. Now it says to reissue a brand new check to Haley Bros, okay, for the correct amount of $1171.87. PO number, now we need to change our PO number because now it's been revised, right? Our purchase order number now needs to reflect a revision, which is the total amount of down payment I'm actually going to be placing in. So in this case, I actually calculated the wrong amount. I only took 1/3 of one of the numbers. I don't know where I got the 1140, but now that I recalculated, I found out, wait, this isn't 1/3. 1/3 is actually 1170 instead. So in this case, now I'm going to type in the correct amount and reissue a brand new check, and I'm going to also revise my purchase order. So in this case, I'm going to go as is. So first things first, I'm going to write myself a brand, I'm going to write a brand new check for the 1171. Okay? So I'm going to do that first. Okay? So on 6/7, okay, I'm writing a brand new check for the 1171.87. All right? It's still going to go to Haley Bros. Right? And I know it's now, my new check is going to be for the 1507. Okay. I'm also going to update my purchase order because now I have to revise it. So I made the purchase order on 303 for the brewer and coffee. So what I'm going to do is here, I'm just going to enter in an R, okay? Because that's going to tell me that I revised it, right? See if it's a credit, right? R is to revise it. So that's how I'm going to make sure that I let myself know that the purchase order that I am doing is going to be revised a bit with the new correct amount of down payment. Okay? And then now I can go back to my journal and I can go ahead and place in the brand new piece of information, which in this case, I'm going to be debiting my prepaid accounts. I'm going to be crediting my checking because I wrote a new check. So 18,600 with 10,100 for the correct amount of 1171 87. Okay. All right. And now here, I'm going to indicate that this is also Haley Bros. Okay. I wrote a brand new purchase order number 170303R, right? Because it's a brand new one with a check number of 1507. Okay. With the new amount here. Okay. So now that I've finally re-entered in the correct transaction, I can go ahead and update my ledger again with proper numbers. So in this case, my first one is going to be prepaid accounts, which that's where we left off on. Okay, so here's my wrong one. That's deposits. Prepaid accounts. Here it is. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and write, okay, 1/3, down payment to Haley Bros, right? General journal number 2. This time for the correct amount of the 1171.87, which now I have total accounts prepaid accounts for now 782604. Okay. All right. Any questions? Okay. All right. So then now I'm going to scroll all the way back up to the top or page 1, and I'm going to enter in my new check, right? Because now it's no longer voided. It's a check number 1507, right? General journal number 2. And now I'm going to credit it for 1171.87 to give me now a new grand total of $10,189.42. All right. Now that we've updated our ledger, last thing now we got to do is now we have to actually place in our brand new transaction here. So in this case, same thing's going to happen, except you're going to have a little piece of information. It's a little different. So in this case, I am going to write 1/3 down payment. Okay. Brewer / grinder. All right. And this time it's going to be check number 1507. Right? My PO is going to, my invoice number is going to be for the PO 170303R because we made a revision to it. Okay. Then this time we place this in the general journal number 2. Okay. And this time my invoice amount is going to be for the amount of 1171.87, which we did pay for with my check. So if you place in the formula, you should be able to copy it down in your next cube, meaning I now owe $0 again. So first transaction I left alone because number 1 rule is you never want to delete any transactions, especially when you're dealing with accounting. And we'll see this really prevalent when we work in your QuickBooks. You should not ever delete. You can, but then by you deleting few things, you're not keeping a good tracking method of all of your receipts as all of your mistakes as well. Because one thing that a company could look into your books is, or an auditor, they can look into your books and say, why is it that you wrote two checks, one for the amount for 1140 and one for the amount for 1171. They could be thinking that you could be taking that extra $30 for yourself for some reason. And in this case, if we just leave our transactions as is in our book, at least this is proof, right? Right here, I recorded it right here, the first thing is I recorded it for the original purchase order. I even wrote it that I voided the check. The second one is my revised version of the purchase order with a new check number. So at least this is telling me that, okay, well, I originally wrote the wrong amount for 1140, but now I corrected it by voiding the check and reissued another check for the 1171. So this gives me more information to make sure that I don't make any conclusions that I'm trying to fraud the company. Okay? So now that we updated our subsidiary ledger, let's go ahead and see what happened next. Okay, so okay, good. We got one more transaction. What happened here? Okay, we received another bill. Hold on, sorry. I hit the wrong one. We received another bill. All right, we also received our asset, right? We received our desk set. Okay? We have our invoice number. We have the total amount that was due. Okay, so this one, they charge us sales tax as well, and they also charge us a delivery charge. Okay? So, what are we going to do here?
Include it in the general journal,
Yes.
debit the desk.
Do we have an account for the desk set?
Yeah, 13030.
We do. We have it for 13030. Now, if we're receiving a bill, okay, are we going to pay it now or are we going to pay it later?
Later.
We're going to pay it later. So accounts payable is going to be our second account that we're going to place it on. Okay? And again, yes, we recognize that we do have a desk set. Okay? So go to my general journal. All right? Now, before doing that, the first thing you want to do is you want to update your purchase order saying that yes, you received your desk set. Okay, so here in my purchase order number 1 or 301, I did receive it. It finally came, and it is for invoice number 71, right? And then now you can actually go ahead and journalize your stuff properly, okay? So June 7, okay? I received a desk set for 1330, did you say? 1330? Okay. For the
Oh, I'm sorry, the 13030.
good. And I placed this on an accounts payable because I'm not going to pay now. I'm going to pay them later. All right. And it's for, what is my total amount that I'm actually going to owe them for?
658.37.
658.37. Right? For the full amount. This one, I don't need to calculate my sales tax or my shipping freight. I don't need to distribute them because I only have one item and one item all. So in this case, I don't need to do any calculations. It's already given right here. This is what my asset cost is going to be for the full $658.37. Okay, with my journal here, I've already indicated that this is what's going to happen. So for my little description here, I'm going to say, well, who was the vendor that I received it from? The furniture store. Good. What invoice did I receive this bill on? 71. And I'm going to throw in a little extra piece of information. When is it due? What are the terms that they gave me?
15 days,
Yes.
22nd.
Yes, net 15. All right. Before we think about that, that's for the subsidiary ledger. So now that I've indicated all of this, I've finished my journal completely. Now I'm going to go ahead and properly place it into my ledger. Okay. So my ledger, right? I'm going to go ahead and find my desk set. So here it is. My desk set's right here. I believe that's page 10 in the Word file. So 6, 7. Item here is pretty straightforward. I know what I received. I received a desk set. General journal number 2. All right, and I debited my account for $658.37. Therefore, making my debit balance of $658.37. Okay. I'm going to go to my, go ahead.
On the general journal, the one next to that, there was an error entry of the amount, 658.34, should be 658.37.
Thank you. 658.37. Good, thank you. All right, go to my liabilities. All the way at the very top. Oh, I'm at my, there you go. At the top of my liabilities, I'm going to enter in that I received this, and I'm going to also place in my invoice so then I know what the heck I bought. Invoice number 71. Okay. General journal number 2. And lastly, I'm increasing the amount that I owe for the $657.37, which should automatically update me to get a grand total of $4,078.16. Okay. Lastly, we're going to update our subsidiary ledger, okay, for the furniture store, which should be right above Haley Bros. There you go. I received a desk set. Okay. And it was invoice number 71, General Journal 2. This time it was also again net 15, and we've already know what that is, which is going to be the 22nd of June. But this time it's going to be for the invoiced amount of $658.37, which if you've already placed your formula in here in the first place, you should be able to pull that down to be $687.37. Now, down here at the gray bar right here, right? I think I left most formulas in there. So it's actually going to be an equal sum of everything that's in this column right here. So if I were to just look at how much I owe furniture store in general, it should be an equal sum amount in the gray bar here. So for furniture store, I owe them a total of $2,428.67. Okay, so this is going to be an equal sum. It's not necessarily to have, but it's also in good reference on which vendor you actually owe the most money to. Okay? All right. So now that we've completed that, let's go ahead and see what has happened next. What does it say?
Start water in Las Vegas services through Nevada utilities.
Okay. Any transaction there?
No, ma'am.
No. So what is next? Create the trial balance. So in this case, because I want to create a trial balance in case something has happened. Now, if you actually look at our journal, how many transactions has happened or has occurred in my journal? You have quite a lot, right? So the way that I want to ensure the accuracy of my accounting is to do a trial balance at the end of the week. Now, that's the difference between a trial balance and an unadjusted trial balance is the unadjusted trial balance happens at the end of the month. A regular trial balance can happen at any given time, whenever you want to do it. You could do it at the end of the day, you could do it at the end of the week, however you want to do it, because that's the one that you're not really going to, you're not going to report to the government. The only one that you're going to report is your unadjusted, which happens at the end of the month or at the end of your given period. This one is just to ensure that I don't get a discrepancy somewhere in my journalizing or my ledger per se, because I have to use the ledger in order to create my trial balance. Okay, and I'll show you exactly how to do that. But this is just to ensure the accuracy of my accounting, and that way I can find my mistakes within the week versus wait till the end of the month to find my mistakes somewhere that I don't know. Because if I'm dealing with a bunch of transactions, I would have to literally dig through every single thing I've done and check it one at a time. So in this case, I'm doing a preventative measure, and it's also going to save yourself a headache at the end of the week. So what I like to do actually, so here I've actually reached the end of my second page in my journal. So what I like to do is I actually like to cross this section out and indicate that this section here is complete and it is done for. Now I'm going to choose black because it's easy to see, right? And then in writing, I'm going to indicate it in white that this is going to be where my trial balance number for trial balance for week 1 is going to happen. Okay? So I place it right here in my journal that the trial balance for week 1 is going to occur. And that way, any transaction that I've either done beforehand or afterwards is not going to, I cannot enter in anything after this, right? This portion is basically a stopper, meaning I'm done with my transactions for this week. So when I enter in a new transaction, it has to be afterwards. So this is where, in case you do find a discrepancy, you can go ahead and edit the information. Not edit the information, but you'd be able to find it and place it right underneath this black bar. Okay? So I just want to make sure that I break up my journal to tell me that I am done with this. So with that being said, I can put my journal away. And again, this, when you're doing your trial balance, you're going to be utilizing your general ledger. Okay? Because what a trial balance is you're going to list out all of the accounts in order and tally up what the total balance is in each account. Okay? Now, in this one, I want you to record what you see and what balances exist. But for the ones that don't have any balances, do not place it in here. All right? So I'm going to go ahead and go down the list here. So in my bank, do I have any balances here? No. So I can go ahead and not record that. My second account is going to be my checking account. Yes, I utilize my checking account. What is my current balance in my checking account?
1,189.
Exactly. So this is where I'm going to go ahead and indicate my first account is going to be checking. I'm in caps. Checking. And I'm going to format this so I can see it a little better. All right. I'm going to left align it. You can place them all in the middle. It doesn't matter because we're not dealing with the concept of journalizing. All we're really dealing here is just listing out all of the accounts that exist in my ledger, and I am just recognizing what the balance is. So in this case, I recognize that I have currently a debit balance of 10. Okay. There we go. I currently have a debit balance of the 10,1,842. Now what you can do is you can cell reference in multiple workbooks. But what happens is you want to be very careful with that, because if you move your workbook to another place in a file, or by you not tapping it and making sure that it's not working, it will not make that connection. It will give you that error message, okay? So you want to be very careful if you choose to go ahead and cell reference from multiple books. You can do that, not like you can't, okay? So here, I'm just going to type it in because I type it in as I see it, and then, of course, with that could be a possible error as well. But here, I know that I have a 10,018.42 in my checking account. All right. Next account, do I see anything in my petty cash fund? No. What about my cash in register? No. Accounts receivable? Nothing. What about allowance for doubtful accounts? Business supplies? So I can assume that business supplies doesn't have anything. All right. So I'm going to keep scrolling. Office supplies. Do we have anything there? No, not yet. Okay. What about inventory? I haven't even touched inventory at all, so you can skip that part. All right. Now I have ceramic coffee mugs. Okay. Now I'm moving into furniture. Do I have something in my account for furniture? Yes, you do, but what's the account balance in my furniture?
It's zero.
It's 0. Okay? And what you can do is if you want to do main accounts in here to keep yourself organized, you may do so. In this case, I'm just only listing out what I see in my accounts. Next time we can practice utilizing the main account and breaking it down from there. But in this case, I'm just only looking what I'm looking for. I'm finding any account that has some kind of balance to it. So in this case, my furniture account does not have a balance in it, so I'm going to ignore it. What about my bistro tables? Nothing yet. All right. What about my counter? Yes, we do. And it's a debit balance of the 1193 22. Okay. What about my desk set? Yes, we do have a balance in my desk set.
Question.
Mm-hmm.
Because the reason I mentioned yes on the, what was that one where the
Furniture.
the furniture?
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember, I know you purchased it for 4,000 as is, but then when you sold it, you had it, you only sold it for 2,000.
Remember the rule of historical cost. You cannot change the value of an asset, no matter what it is. So that's the historical cost. That means if you purchase it for $4,000 and you sold it, you need to sell it. Well, in this case, you need to remove it as $4,000 because that's what it's worth. But because you sold it for $2,000, you recognized a loss of $2,000. Okay.
That's why I said yes a while ago. Because I was thinking of the 2,000 difference,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But in this case, when we recorded it at $4,000.
4,000. Okay.
Okay, because that's what it's worth. You just end up taking a loss because that's what happens when you sell used furniture. Okay. All right. So after the desk set, do we have display shelves? Yes, we do. All right. For what amount? 57708. All right. What's the next thing that you see? Do we have office equipment? We do, right? It's broken down into a computer. So do we have a computer? Yes, we do. So computer for what amount? 1384.84. 13 18 13. Okay, I'm just gonna forget it. All right, what happened next? Did we also get a printer? Yes, we did. We did in fact get a printer for how much? Correct. Right? And then lastly, did we get a cash register? Yes, we did. For $649.49. Okay. All right. Now equipment. Did we get any equipment? We did as a breaking down. Yes, we did. Did we have a coffee brewer? Yes, we did. Okay, for how much? 1,900. Okay, so I'm gonna change this to dollar or comma style. Okay. Yes, we got it for 1,900. Good. Did we have a coffee grinder? Not yet. We didn't receive it yet. All right. What about vehicles? No. Do we have a truck? No. Okay. What about prepaid accounts? Yes, we do. And because it's in caps, because it's a main account, you should write it in as you see it. So in this case, I'm going to recognize that prepaid accounts is a main account. And I have it for the grand total of 782604. 782604. Okay. Do I have anything in my deposits? Yes, you do. Deposits for the grand total of 1,700. All right. Next thing is, do I have goodwill? Yes, you do. That was when we purchased our business. We need to recognize that we do have that. as 2,100. And then lastly, for my assets, do I have any miscellaneous suspense? Right now, I do not have anything, so you do not need to have it on your journal. Okay? There's no value to it, so there's no point to include it. All right? Now we're moving on to my liabilities. Okay? Still liabilities. All right, so I'll give you a hint. We only tapped into one liability, and that's just the accounts payable, right? We didn't talk about anything else that happened there. No loans or anything. So all you need to worry about is we only have an accounts payable. Right? And accounts payable is also a main account. All right? How much is my accounts payable credit for?
407,816.
Make sure you recognize that it's not a debit balance, it's a credit balance. So make sure you go onto the credit side, 4078 and 16 cents. And I am in the wrong one. I thought I clicked it. You guys all saw me click it, right? Okay. 407816. Okay. 407816. Okay. So good. Like I said, we didn't incur any other loans so far, so you don't need to worry about that. Okay. So let's move on to equity. Equity. Did we have owner's equity? Yes, we did. Right? For how much? $30,000 credit. Okay, good. Of course, I'll just briefly go through this. Did we have any capital contributions, any withdrawals, or any income summary? Not yet. Okay. Revenues, of course, we haven't even started any sales, so I can give you that. And of course, we didn't make any purchase of inventory, so therefore you should not have a cost of goods sold. So now we're going to move to our last segment, which is our expenses. Okay, so did I incur any advertising expense? No. What about any bank fees? No. What about business expenses? Yes. Okay, we did incur a business expense. All right, for the grand total of what? 1,000. Remember, because it's debited, it's on the debit side for $1,000. Okay. Did we have any freight expense?
No.
Not yet. Okay. What about insurance expense? Yes, we did. For the total of $195.83. Okay. What about labor expense? Not yet so far. Okay. How about license and permit expense? Yes. We have a license and permit expense for $375. Okay. What about loss on sale of asset? Oh wait, I think it's loss on disposal of asset.
That's where
Yes.
I was questioning about that. My question a while ago.
All right, and for how much?
2,000 debit.
2,000 debit. Good. Did we have any office supplies expense? Not that we know of. What about payroll expenses? Obviously, we haven't even talked about payroll yet. We haven't even have employees yet. So we can skip all of that. What about purchase expense? Did we make any purchases yet? Not yet. Okay. We will start doing that next week. All right. And then what about rent expense? Yes, we did. We did indeed have a rent expense. For $1,500. Okay. And I'm going to quickly scroll down. Do we have travel expenses, utility expenses, bad debt expense, depreciation expense, and amortization expense? We had none of those. So here we now have completed by using our ledger, right? So now we're going to test our theory. Did all my debits match to my total credits? So I'm going to go ahead and equal sum this row. Okay? And can you tell me, did we match? So I got 34,000. Good. Boom. Therefore, we matched 100%. It's equal on both sides. So that means every transaction that we've occurred from June 1st all the way to June 7th is correct and accurate. So that means we can stop going back and having to fix anything there. Okay? So that means there's no discrepancy, no errors that we've done. Everything is correct. Okay? So yay! Okay, we balanced, and that means from now on, we're going to move on to the next set of information, which is going to be from June 8th, all the way to the 14th. And what we're going to do is we're still going to utilize our ledger. You need to have the ledger in order to create the trial balance. So that's why it's a step-to-step process, right? You need to complete the journal first. You need to post it to the ledger, and then using the ledger, that's how you create your trial balance. Okay? Any questions in seeing this portion right here? This is the most exciting part, is getting to see how your hard work by placing them into their proper accounts pieces together, and the best part is that your debits and your credits match. If they did not match, you got a typo somewhere. Okay? Or you entered in something in your ledger or your journal that you forgot to post, or XYZ. So in this case, we are complete with the very first week of Coffee Cafe. Okay. Any questions in regards to the very first week of Coffee Cafe? I will be posting these answers on the Google Classroom along with the video. So then if you need to take this as a point of reference, whether you've matched or whatnot, that is what I'm going to be doing, okay? So you guys don't fall way too far behind, because once we start the next segment, that means we cannot go back and fix whatever happened in the beginning of your journal. So best thing, if you are using Excel and you did have a discrepancy and you did not match, go ahead and download this because it's already done for you. But make sure that you understand where your mistake is by going back and finding it. Okay? All right. With that being said,